Shelby is hitting the switch up so that her and Jordan can keep strutting on to success. Lance is struggling, child, to find his purpose and passions again. And Harper is just trying to move on up. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Erica Main TV, the main channel for your good sis you love to talk TV with. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button because I think you're gonna love it here as we deep dive into the final installments of the Best Man franchise. Also, I have Erica Main TV 2, my second and equally poppin' channel where we are dropping more heat, having dope informal conversations, and just giving more content because it's never too much, right? In this video, we are going to talk about Chapter 3. I'm finally getting the hang of things in this Best Man limited series universe. Chapter 3, also known as Episode 3 of the series that dropped December 22nd and is available to binge all 8 episodes for the triumphant finale of this beautiful franchise. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. In this episode, we kind of see Harper take center stage. Harper and Jordan's stories. For the most part, Jordan is struggling to make a transition after canceling a show tied to a prominent Black woman multimedia journalist whose show meant a lot to Black people in the culture, and seemingly tried to transition her over to something similar to The View, but to give her a nice place to land. She winds up getting dragged by Black Twitter and a lot of people digitally by the decision, as she is the leader of the network and of course the face of, you know, the transitions that are happening within MSNBC. Now, I thought this was really cool to touch on, but the biggest point for this is really about how they're able to get Shelby and Jordan to work together, because Jordan winds up recruiting Shelby as the replacement to Miss Anita. And at first, Shelby comes to the table bringing all of her housewives' ratchet glory, offensive realness, and I don't give up nature. But after testing poorly and being the most hated element of the show, Jordan requests for her to actually switch things up and to drop back more in her intellectual bag. And while it's a shift, it's definitely a conversation that has to happen. It's something that Shelby is able to do pretty much seamlessly, even though she just spent the last few decades really benefiting, growing financially, and capitalizing off of her housewives persona. She still has this intellectual girl that, you know, they knew, at least Jordan did, from college and from back before she became, you know, Insta famous and Real Housewives famous, that they're able to call into. What I thought was the most interesting thing, which it was interesting to watch Shelby join this show and then switch it up and give us a different perspective, because we met Shelby in the first iteration of The Best Man as the like prude shrew that was like really controlling of Julian. We had no idea about her intellectual level, but she also was not giving ratchet. She was giving bougie Black girl. I thought that the other thing that was really interesting in this episode, specifically for her storyline, is her and Q, because we get a moment where he is actually like the defining thing that helps her shift into a place of confidence about this show, about the new direction, and about what Jordan is asking her to go to. And I'm like, okay, let me find out that they're not arguing at every turn. Like, they didn't spend the last 10 years arguing. The calendar that they show at the top of this episode really takes us back and walks us up to like present day of 2022, giving us ideas of like what happened in between. So after Shelby and Q get married, they go through everything up through 2020 with the pandemic. Like, they touch on that, like, because Robyn is out here and she is protesting and she's in her activism bag. Q and the Spivey properties, they are struggling because, you know, there was no travel and the whole world was shut down. So I'm really at a loss for where we are at with the timeline. I will try to keep y'all updated and put like a note in the description box, or maybe update it on the chapter 4 video once I have a little bit more clarity. Or also, you can also check ericavane.com, because I will be posting my written reviews and thoughts of each episode there. So if you have a little bit of questions about the timeline, you ain't the only one. I am recording these videos right after watching, so these are a lot of my initial thoughts, and I haven't really had a full amount of time to process and put everything together. And then I'm also recording right after each episode so that I don't have any other information swaying me from watching the whole series first and then coming back and trying to talk about each episode separately. So just keep that in mind. Hey y'all, another quick note from editor Erica. So I am not confused anymore about the timeline. This little calendar moment that they show basically is to catch us up from where we kind of left off with the wedding and people getting back to their lives after the wedding, and giving us everything that everybody was going through up to 2022, but giving you like a very quick little speed of this is what happened in the last 7 years. So Harper went on to write the book that he didn't want to write so that he could buy the brownstone that he actually wanted to buy. We saw, you know, the whole starting of the reconstructing project idea. And then also still he got the green light for the film to be made. It takes a while for films to be made. Robyn's Nest, the meal kit thing that they talked about in last episode, is doing really well. We got to see the exit of Obama, the entrance of thou who shall not be named 45, protesting Robyn. We get to see, you know, magazine, the Variety magazine that denotes Jordan with her rise to power and like prestige at NBC, and then the whole setup for the whole Anita Roberts thing at MSNBC. We get to see Candace is spending a lot of time researching medicinal plant-based medicines, and Shelby building her little Bethany Franco empire off of her Real Housewives fame, even though we don't like Bethany because she be saying something. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And then we also get, once we get to 2022, we get the touch on the pandemic, how that affected Quentin and his businesses. And it really just, and then Lance, all of the things that he's been doing up until then, still not necessarily on the right path, but then also maybe not running through a bunch of women. And then we pick back up with Harper basically doing a book signing at Costco, which he doesn't want to be at. So that whole moment was basically to give us 7 years worth of this is what they all been doing, and we're about to drop y'all into 2022, and then from here through the rest of the season it's from 2022 to 2024. So just a note, editor's note, clarify in case you were confused, because I was definitely confused. But yeah, let's get back into the video. Anyway, back to the characters. So Shelby is really tied into Jordan's storyline in this episode, where we just get to see her at work. She's trying to do the thing that she vowed to do at the wedding, where she was like, I need to prioritize self-care. She was talking to little chocolate brother, and work will always be there. She needs to mitigate her ambition and all of that. So we get moments where she's trying to actually meditate. At first, everything is going great with the transition, the courting of Anita, but then once the announcement is made of her canceling Anita's show and they're trying to transition Anita kind of like, I guess, is pushing back and doesn't want to go. Then that is the whole thing of like, well, who's going to fill that spot on For the Culture, which is one of the new shows that is EP by Jordan. Is like literally her baby and is leading the new slate of programming under her reign. That brings in Shelby. And it's interesting specifically for Jordan and Harper in this episode, because they have a moment at her job where they're able to both talk about the issues that they're struggling with, and then he basically reaffirms how much they think alike and they're on the same page. And this is all the while he is struggling with Robyn, and they are completely on different pages. And I'm just like, really y'all? Like, I'm trying to kick this bug about, Robyn and Harper are probably gonna meet their demise, but then they give me scenes like that moment of them sitting at the offices and just talking, and Jordan saying, well, there's nobody who thinks the same way as you do, and then he says, except for you. That got me like, well, what, Malcolm D. Lee? Like, if you gonna make it happen, just go ahead and make it happen, because this man's about to drag Robyn through the mud, up and down the Upper West Side, into this bougie old brownstone when they were doing just fine in Harlem, to stroke his ego and make him feel more important than he actually is, all the while he really just wants to be with this girl. And then Robyn finds some of the like writing that he started to work on, because he's so obsessed with writing more impactful work and being a more prolific writer, which is cool. But then also, like, he keeps saying this, he's been saying it the last 2 episodes, but then he also is not speaking to what he actually wants to write about. So I'm like, sir, are you just wanting to be prolific and impactful because you want to be one of those names, but you actually don't have anything to say? Like, make it make sense. But Robyn stumbles across something that he wrote, and it is deep. Now, it's not I mean, I don't want to judge him against Baldwin, but he literally brings up Baldwin and other people. It's not that, but it is deep. It is written very well. It is sensual. And Robyn, I believe, automatically assumes that it's like her. And I definitely think that he is talking about Jordan. And I hate that for her. Like, this nuance brewing of the messiness of like Harper's inner desires and loins is stressing me out. And we're only 3 episodes in. But then speaking of Harper, he again wants to move to this new brownstone, this new fancy brownstone that they can afford because of the movie, even though the movie hasn't premiered just yet, and they are making some changes or whatever, but he doesn't need to be included with the changes. To me, that's foreshadowing. And then also, he doesn't want to take this new deal that his publisher is offering him to write another book in the series of books that he no longer wants to write anymore, but yet he wants to increase their expenses by moving to this bougie old brownstone with a courtyard in the background and in the backyard and a pasta fountain. The math ain't mathing, Harper. If you want to go out here on your artistic journey, and if you want to be on your indie-ish, and you want to be this prolific writer, like, James Baldwin has most of his notoriety and like acclaim posthumously. Like, he was not getting hella money when he was writing these impactful, prolific works that was exposing so much of what was happening for Black Americans. Like, let's really call a thing a thing. And you want to go buy $1 million brownstone and do this and do that, also while deciding that you want to also produce works that are going to be no longer lucrative for you because people don't want to hear that or don't even know yet if you're going to be able to deliver in that space. Again, the math ain't mathing. And I think, while I hate this for Robyn, I think it's beautiful, the juxtaposition they are in their relationship, because Robyn is in her bag. She is cooking, she is donating to Meals on Wheels and other shelters and places that, you know, for people who need food. She's also an activist herself, and she's going out and she's protesting herself. Like, she's just doing all these things in the community. She is dead set on wanting to stay living in the community in which they're serving. And I think that it just provides a brilliant juxtaposition to what Harper wants. It's like she is actually connected to this community and is lauded as a leader and as an activist. And while Harper doesn't necessarily want to be an activist, he wants to be regarded with really, really high respect, but he don't want to get his hands dirty. And I think that that's like the crux of the little argument that they have after Robyn goes to jail from, you know, one of the protests, and he's all pissed talking about, you compromised the safety of you and my daughter and don't have her out here. And she's just like, well, how are we supposed to teach her how to stand up, how to advocate for herself, how to stand up for herself and others without getting involved and getting out there? We just supposed to sit up in this $1 million brownstone and look at people. And I'm just like, yep, that's the crux of y'all argument. Harper very much so feels like he wants to be the thing without doing the things, and Robyn is just busy doing things. Again, I don't know if they are going to make it, and I really kind of feel like Robyn deserves a little bit better. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any of my The Best Man coverage of the final chapters. I think that is pretty much all that is happening. We do get a moment in this episode where the guys meet up and have like a card game, and they're able to reveal what's the troubling things for each other. Quentin is struggling to rebound the business because, you know, they were in real estate and COVID hit them very hard. Murch definitely wants the guys to be able to stay together. I think that he's struggling a little bit behind Candace's passion that has been ignited from the wedding. That whole asawaga or whatever that herb is that they took at the wedding really opened her mind up to a lot, and then that pushed her into researching medicinal plants and how that can be beneficial to lifestyles. And she's currently pursuing her PhD while still running their schools. They're all doing really, really well, but it does kind of feel like Murch is just off to the side, just playing the supporting actor role. And I don't know if he's struggling with that, which is weird because his character is always the supporting person, but okay. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Harper wants to be a big shot, wants to be prolific, but he keeps pushing out books that they sell at Costco. And Lance, wants to find his passion and his purpose, and has tried a few things like selling cars and selling perfume and guest co-hosting on ESPN, and none of those shoes actually kind of fit until the very end of the episode where he decides that he's going to return back to football. Sir, you're over 40. Cut it out. With that said, let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think about episode 3, chapter 3 of The Best Man, final chapters? It's your good sis, She Let It Talk TV with. I'm jumping in the comment section right now to see what you guys think and to keep the conversation going. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.